Exodus chapter 18, verse 1, watch what it says. And Jethro, the priest of Midian, Moses' father-in-law, heard of all that God had done for Moses and for Israel, his people, that the Lord had brought Israel out of Egypt. Then Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, took Zipporah, Moses' wife, after he had sent her back, with 2 sons, of whom the name of one was Gershom, for he said, I have been a stranger in a foreign land. And the name of the other is Eliezer, for he said, the God of my father was my help and delivered me from the sword of Pharaoh. Sometimes when you get a chance, when the Bible gives you these names, we have to recognize the names mean something. If a picture paints 1,000 words, in the Word of God, one word can set your whole life on fire. And Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, came with his sons and his wife to Moses in the wilderness, where he was encamped at the mountain of God. Where was he? Now he said to Moses, I, your father-in-law Jethro, am coming to you with my wife and her 2 sons with her. So Moses went out to meet his father-in-law, bowed down, and kissed him. And they asked each other about their well-being, and they went into the tent. And Moses took his father-in-law. Moses told his father-in-law all that the Lord had done to Pharaoh and to the Egyptians, the pestilence, the challenges, the sea changing colors, the frogs and locusts, and he even told them we walked out with all their riches. Everything that happened, he told them all. Can you imagine that story? Moses told his father-in-law all the Lord that had done to Pharaoh and the Egyptians for Israel's sake, all the hardship that had come upon them on the way. But all the problems, they tried to kill us, and God opened up the sea and got us through there. And how the Lord had delivered them. Then Jethro rejoiced for all the good which the Lord had done for Israel. All the good. They went through some hard times. They went through some hard times. They got persecuted too. Now, they were saved with the Passover, but they had to deal with the aftermath of all those pestilence. Yet, look at all the good that God did for Israel. Everybody goes through bad times. Question I have for you. Do you see the good in the bad? See, sometimes we're so drowned by the bad, we forget that God is doing something good. And we get caught up in that because of fear, the uncertainty, what's next, lack of faith that God is about to do something tremendous. Jethro rejoiced for all the good which the Lord had done for Israel, whom he had delivered out of the hands of the Egyptians. Watch this. And Jethro said, Blessed be the Lord, who has delivered you out of the hand of the Egyptians, out of the hands of Pharaoh, who has delivered the people from under the hand of the Egyptians. Now I know that the Lord is greater than all the gods. For in the very thing in which they behaved proudly, he was above them all. God was in control. Are you hearing me? Moses, man, thought he was in control a couple times. God was in control. Pharaoh thought he was in control, but God was in control. God was in control even while they were in bondage. That's what all the time means. Watch this. Then Moses' father-in-law took a burnt offering and other sacrifices to offer God. And Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses father-in-law before God, in front of God. What you're doing, are you doing it before God or are you doing it before man? Question. Are you working before God or are you working for man? Are you doing it for a salary or are you doing it for God? Are you doing it for your wife or are you doing it for God? Come on now. Watch what happens. And Aaron came and the elders ate bread before Moses, father-in-law, before God. Watch this. And so it was on the next day that Moses sat to judge the people, and the people stood before Moses from morning until evening. The people stood before Moses. Let's not run right over that. The people were tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, million. The people, a lot, all of them in front of Moses. Moses stood before them in the morning until evening, working for them. Moses working for the people. So when Moses' father-in-law saw all that he did for the people, he said, "What is this thing that you are doing for the people? Why do you alone sit? All the people stand before you from morning until evening." And Moses said to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me to inquire of God." Now this is Old English for a South Texas version. Pop, they're wanting to hear God. They're coming before me. They're wanting to hear God. Of course I'm going to be there. I mean, what Moses was doing was not a bad thing. Moses was before the people, answering questions that the people had. From morning to evening, every day, morning, evening, morning, evening, morning, evening, Moses alone, answering the questions. Of course, Moses was with God. Moses went to the burning bush. The Lord spoke to Moses that he was going to set the Israelites free. Moses stood before Pharaoh. Moses saw the miracles. Moses heard the voice of God. Of course, Moses is there so the people can hear from God. Thank God for wise father-in-laws. Look what he said. Stood before Moses from morning until evening. So when Moses' father-in-law saw all that the people did, or saw that he did for the people, he said, "What is this thing that you're doing for the people? Why do you alone sit and the people stand before you from morning to evening?" Moses said to his father-in-law, "Because the people come to me and inquire. When they have a difficulty, they come to me and I judge. When they have an argument, I judge. When someone stole and someone lied or the other one, the person wants to know how God works, I got to be there for them to teach them. Come on. I'm the man, I'm the person that has the answers. I got all the answers." He did. You got to judge between them. Watch this. The thing you do is not good. Both you and these people who are with you will surely wear yourselves out. See, in our businesses, in our workplaces, or even in our families, sometimes you think you're all that in a bag of chips. Because you got answers and you know the right way of doing it. But mister, let me talk to you for a minute. Have you ever thought maybe to really inquire amongst your wife and ask, what do you think about this situation? How about going to your son or your daughter and say, what do you think about this situation in the family? Give them an opportunity to say something. But sometimes we take it upon ourselves feeling like we have the answer. And you may have the answer. But he's saying right here, you can wear yourselves out. Not just you, Moses. You can wear the people out. Are you hearing me? For this thing is too much for you. You are not able to perform it by yourself. Oh, wait a minute. He just identified there are others that can help. Don't think you have the answer and you're the only one. Only I is a dangerous statement. Listen now to my voice. I will give you counsel, and God will be with you. Stand before, watch this, stand before God for the people. Moses, your place is to stand before God. Why are you standing before the people? But they're inquiring of God from me. Well, you have a call. Stand before God for the people. Don't stand before the people for God. Are you hearing me? I'm going to show you how you can run your business, your ministry, your family, your organization, your life with ease. Watch this. Stand before God for the people. Be that leader. So that you may bring the difficulties to God. And you shall teach them the statutes and the laws, and show them the way in which they must walk, and the work. Everybody say work. Come on, everybody say work. That's a scared word when you talk to the members of a church. The word work. In the way which they must walk, and the work they must do. Look at that person next to you and say, you have a job to get done. Come on, tell them, you have a job to get done. God has called you because you have a job to get done. God has called you to do a job. You must do. Must. Teach the people the work they must do. Moreover, you shall select from all the people, all the workers now, able men such as fear God, men of truth, hating covetousness, place such over them to be rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, rulers of tens, and let them judge the people at all times. Let them lead them. Let them walk with them. There's a better way than you doing it all by yourself. We live in a society today with all the technology that we feel we can do more. I'm guilty of that. The Lord's had to set me free multiple times. Because when He sets me free, I go back and do it again. We've all been there. Then it will be that every great matter that they bring to you, but every small matter, they themselves shall judge. They shall do it. They'll work it out. Let them work it out. Trust them to do a job. Believe that they'll get the job done. So it will be easier for you, for they will bear the burden with you. Huh? You mean they're going to help carry the weight of the concerns of the people? These leaders? Moses must have been shocked. You mean Moses, understand, he was by himself in Egypt 40 years and then by himself again in the wilderness. Before he ever went back to set the people free. Yeah, he had people that were there, but he didn't put them to work. He lived in plenty. He was a prince in Egypt. And then he was a shepherd in the wilderness. And when he saw the burning bush, he was all by himself taking care of all those sheep. And God said, you're not by yourself. His father-in-law said, you're not by yourself. Watch. So Moses heeded the voice of the father-in-law and did all that he said. And Moses chose able men out of Egypt, made them head over the people, rulers of thousands, rulers of hundreds, rulers of 50, rulers of 10. So they judged the people at all times. The hard cases they brought to Moses, but they judged every small case themselves. Then Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went on his way to his own land. Wow. This right here can be spoken to any organization on this planet, and that leader will be set free when he recognizes he's hired people that know a thing. Learn how to delegate. Learn how to get things done. God has called you to set the people free, but He didn't mean for you to be the God to the people. Let's get a thing. Now Jesus elevated this leadership principle. Are you ready for this? If you can catch this, if you're a business owner and you catch this, your business can go through the roof. If you're a pastor, you catch this, your ministry will go through the roof. Watch this. This is how Jesus did it. Watch this. Matthew chapter 14, verse 13. Matthew 14, 13. Watch this. This is a supernatural ability of leadership and organization. Beginning with verse 13, when Jesus heard it, because he had heard about all these people that were following him. Heard all these people. Jesus heard it. He departed from there by boat to a desert place by himself. But when the multitude heard it, they followed him on foot from the cities. How many of y'all would like that? Got all these people following me, man. I got to get out of here. Had some trouble, get on the boat, and the people heard, hey, he's going to show up over there, and they came running. And Jesus went out. He saw a great multitude, and he was moved with compassion for them. And he healed their sick. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him saying, watch this. The disciples came. Jesus' disciples came to Jesus and said, this is a deserted place, and the hour is already late. Send the multitude away, that they may go into their villages and buy for themselves food. These people followed. They heard Jesus was showing up, and they came over there. And the disciples are saying, just send them away. We don't have anything to feed them. Here's what they were actually saying. It's just too much work. I just want to be with you, Jesus. No, Jesus, I just want to be with you. I don't need. Who are all these people anyway? Watch this. Tells them, send them away. Let them buy their own food. Jesus said to them, they do not need to go away. I love this next word. What's that next word? What? They don't need to go away. You give them something to eat. Come on, Jesus, send them away. You know, we don't have very much food. You give them something to eat. Watch this. You give them something to eat. You give them. You give them. Look what Jesus did. You give them. Another passage talks about how Jesus, knowing what he was going to do, made this statement. You give them something to eat. Send them away. Can you imagine the disciples saying, Jesus, there's too many of them, send them away. And then Jesus turns around and say, I'm not sending them away, you feed them. You know how many of y'all would leave that church? You need to get to work. Oh, Pastor, I have an idea. What if we do this? And the pastor say, well, I think you need to do it. Oh, no, Pastor, I didn't give it to you. You get to the point you start talking about, I think Pastor should do this. Well, let's go tell him. No, he's going to tell us to get to work. You think pastor knows that that needs to be done? Probably not. You saw it because God ordained you to do it. Come on now. You saw it because God ordained you to do it. Is God your God? I said, is God your God? Is Jesus your Lord? So he'll talk to you like he'll talk to me. Like he talks to Mike, like he talks to Juan, like he talks to Richardson. God talks to you like he talks to us. Oh, that pastor. He's got a word trying to put us to work. Oh, I got a word trying to bless you. You ready for it? They do not need to go away. You give them something to eat. And they said to him, watch this. This is what they said. We have only 5 loaves and 2 fishes. Ay, pobrecito, I got a little chicken fish nuggets, McDonald's fish nuggets, an order of fries, and 1 Pepsi. We don't have anything but these 2 loaves and fishes. Watch what he said. He said, bring them here to me. Do you realize? He said, if I be lifted up, I'll draw men to me. Then he commanded, watch, what's what he tells about the commandment? Because we all need to get ready for this. I'm telling this right now because I know we have leaders in this church. Here's what he's saying. He commanded. So this is a command of God, a command of Christ. He commanded the multitude, sit down on the grass. Oh. The multitude, he said, hey, take a seat. He didn't put them to work. He said, come on, take a seat. We got this. We're going to take it. This Peter's going to feed you in a minute. John's going to feed you in. You hear what I'm saying? The disciples about to feed it. The disciples are still counting the loaves and the fish. And he tells the people, sit down. Just sit down. When people start coming in here, and those new people show up, take a seat. Let them take a seat. You serve them. You've been here for 30 years, you served them. You've been here 10 years, you served them. You've been here 1 year, you served them. Those new people that come in here, let's serve them. We share with them the love of God. Watch this. And he took the loaves and the 2 fish, and he looked up to heaven. And he blessed and he broke it and gave the loaves to the disciples. Did Jesus distribute the loaves and the fish? Huh? Did Jesus distribute the loaves and the fish? Where was Jesus' eyes with the loaves and the fish? Was it on the people? Where was his eyes? God. What was Moses commanded? Stand before God for the people. Are you seeing this? He blessed, he broke it, gave it to the disciples, and the disciples gave. Supernatural power touched the disciples, the workers, because Jesus looked to God and blessed it, and then gave it. We have to look to God in our organizations, in our families as leaders. Men, as family leaders, you have to look to God and bless your family. Leaders of organizations, look to God. Leaders of department, look to God. If you don't have anybody underneath you, you have your customers that you serve. You could be working from home on the computer and you're selling a service. You look to God to serve the people and watch how God will bless you with more customers. Bless that business, which will bless your family. And if you catch this, listen, if you catch this, don't you know your boss is going to realize, hey, they're producing so good, they need a bonus. They need a raise. They're so organized. And all you're doing is looking to God and God's going to tell you what to do. And the disciples gave. They were fulfilling the word of Jesus when Jesus said to them, you. When Jesus said to the disciples, you, the disciples only counted poco loaves and fishes. But Jesus was actually prophesying, there's going to be so many loaves and fishes that I need all my disciples working. So they gave to the multitude. So they all ate and were filled, and they took up 12 baskets full of fragments that remained. 12 baskets. 12 baskets full of fragments. What was left over was more than what they started. When you do things the way the Lord wants you to do it, you will be blessed better when you're done than when you started. So when you go into a work of God, whatever it is that you have, you feel may not be enough, God's going to multiply it, that when you're done, you're going to have a lot more afterwards. Catch that. Catch that. Fear makes you hold back and resist. Fear causes you to go in yourself. Fear keeps you away from putting your eyes on to God. Fear causes you to take inventory of what you got. And by fear, you're now prophesying your future. And you look to your future based on what you got, not knowing that if you just take that and do as God tells you to do with it, at the end, God's going to multiply it. When I say we're going to see miracles, signs and wonders in this ministry, that's what I'm talking about. We're going to do more than we are capable of ever doing. Come on, give God praise. We're going to do more than you can ever ask or think, is what the Bible says. He'll give you abundant above more than you ever ask or think. But you got to start asking, you got to start thinking. And He's going to give you more. And those that had eaten, watch this, were about 5,000 men, besides the women and children. Some people think only 5,000 were there. No, there were 5,000 men. And there was a whole bunch of women and children. And if they were like my wife, every one of them were there. And if they were Latinos, they had more than one child. And tribes. People of God, the ministry is for us to work. The ministry gives us a responsibility to do what God has called us to do. Without prevail, without stopping, keep going. Don't stop. Don't judge the one on the left or the right. Keep going. Don't stop. Just keep going. Keep going. Back in the Bible days, they'd put two oxes together, a seasoned one and a young one. And the seasoned one would be walking and the young one would be learning. And they're yoked together. And as they were walking, you know, the young one's going to get stronger and the older one's going to get weaker. But by the time the young one is very strong and the older one gets weaker, the young one knows the thing. Ready for now a young one to go in with that one, because now he's full of wisdom. And Jesus says, take upon my yoke. It's easy. My burden is light. Yoke yourself up to me. And you know what that means? He's stronger. Amen? But you know what that means? If you yoke yourself up with Jesus, you know what that means is going to happen to you? You're going to get stronger. You're the weaker one. He's the stronger one. When I am weak, He's strong. You see, when I attach myself to my Savior, He's got all the answers. So sometimes you say, I don't know what to do. Just do it. What? I don't know. Do whatever. Come to church, take a look, figure out how to get people in here. Just do a thing. You watch what will happen. Suddenly you'll realize that there's a place for you. And I've seen just the time that I've been here, people that have come up to me, new people, who said, this is what my gifts and talents are. How are we going to do this? They don't know how to. And I looked at them sometimes and said, I don't know how we're going to do this. I better go to God. When I go to God, show me. And then the Lord says, release them. You know, the upper room, Jan and Kel, don't tell me I'm going to say James. I know what it is. That was just a 54-year-old moment. Jan and James, I asked them, you know, I was actually approached by a gentleman for them to come over. Said, would you like to meet with him? I said, I'd love to have him come over. And I just wanted a fellowship. Come on over, have some coffee. I got no friends here. I'm like that little boy. Will you be my friend? You know. and they came over and we just fellowship and had coffee. And then I said, so what's going on? And he says, man, I've been doing this prayer thing. And he said, you know, he was where he was. And I said, inside me, I'm talking to the Lord, because I've learned I got to keep my eyes on the Lord. I don't know any needs or any desires or any dreams or mandates or missions or visions or thus saith the Lord about any of this thing until the Lord tells it to me. So they tell me, and I said, well, what do you want to do? And he says, show them the room upstairs, show them the upper room. I said, all right, let's go check out. Let me show you. Let's go walk around. Man, I went in there and the anointing of God hit those two. And we've wanted that room, just a room to pray. I'm a praying man. I love praying and talking before God. I'm the guy that sets up little places. I'm going to meet God. You look, the tabernacle of God, the word tabernacle means meeting place with God. My tabernacle has been lazy boy recliners, corner of the living room, in the closet down below on the left, next to the safe. Depending on the place I live, a couple of times my tabernacle was between my old shoes. It was a meeting place that I met God. And we went in there, and then God, look where you are. I couldn't have orchestrated. It's not like I sat there and said, plan one. This is how God works. Somebody says, you got a plan. I got a plan. It's written in His Word. Yeah, He'll give me a vision, and we'll write the vision down, and we'll go out and the Bible says, get a vision, write it plain on tablets. He who reads it runs with it. Vision of God, get it done. Amen? We have to recognize God has a plan. He's going to do something powerful with us. Amen?